Teaching Students with Autism by Justin Stosey.
This is a quick introduction to myself and my background with autism. Once again, I'm Justin Stosey, and I currently work at Developmental Disabilities Institute, or DDI. I started working there after I graduated from college back in May '09. This is an organization that specializes in working with individuals with autism. I started there as a teacher's assistant working with 14 to 22-year-old students, teaching them various academic and life skills. After I received a substitute position, I transferred over to the residential setting working with individuals older than 35. This is a position where I bring autistic adults to various community settings and teach them everyday life skills. I soon received a permanent substitute position in the Eastport South Manor District. I was given the chance to work with students in inclusion and self-contained classrooms. Here I worked with students with various learning needs.
This is some background knowledge on autism. Here's a quick explanation of autism. Autism is a brain disorder that typically affects a person's ability to communicate, form relationships with others, and respond appropriately to the environment. Some people with autism are relatively high functioning, with speech and intelligence intact. Others are mentally retarded, nonverbal, or have serious language delays. For some, autism makes them seem closed off and shut down. Others seem locked up in repetitive behaviors and rigid patterns of thinking. Autism mainly affects social abilities, communications, motor skills, and sensory.
Causes of autism. The simple answer here is we don't know. The vast majority of cases of autism are idiopathic, which means the cause is unknown. The more complex answer is that just as there are different levels of severity and combinations of symptoms in autism, there are probably multiple causes. The best scientific evidence available to us today points towards a potential for various combinations of factors causing autism. Multiple genetic components that may cause autism on their own or possibly when combined with exposure to as yet undetermined environmental factors. Timing of exposure during the child's development, before, during, or after birth, may also play a role in the development or final presentation of the disorder. A small number of cases can be linked to genetic disorders such as Fragile X, tuberous sclerosis, and Angelman syndrome, as well as exposure to environmental agents such as infectious ones or chemical ones during pregnancy. Piecemeal evidence over the past 30 years suggests that autism may involve inflammation in the central nervous system. There is also emerging evidence from animal studies that illustrates how the immune system can influence behaviors related to autism. Who are affected? Today it is estimated that 1 in every 110 children is diagnosed with autism, making it more common than childhood cancer, juvenile diabetes, and pediatric AIDS combined. An estimated 1.5 million individuals in the U.S. and 10 of millions worldwide are affected by autism. Government statistics suggest that prevalence rates of autism is increasing 10 to 17% annually. There is not established explanation for this increase, although improved diagnosis and environmental influences are two reasons often considered. Studies suggest boys are more likely than girls to develop autism and receive the diagnosis 3 to 4 times more frequently. Current estimates are that in the United States alone, 1 out of 70 boys is diagnosed with autism. Diagnosis of autism. Presently, there is not a medical test for autism. A diagnosis is based on observed behavior and educational and psychological testing. From birth to at least 36 months of age, every child should be screened for developmental milestone during routine well visits. If concerns about a child's development are raised, their doctor should refer the child to early intervention and a specialist for a developmental evaluation. The MCHAT is a list of simple questions about your child. The answers determine whether he or she should be referred to a specialist, usually a developmental pediatrician, a neurologist, a psychiatrist, or a psychologist, for further evaluation. Criteria for diagnosis: qualitative impairment in social interaction, qualitative impairments in communication, and restricted, repetitive, and stereotype patterns of behavior, interests, and activities. Abilities affected. The abilities that tend to be affected by autism are social interaction, the language used in social communication, symbolic or imaginative play, physical abilities, and academic skills. Social impairments. These are some of the things that students with autism will display: not responsive to verbal cues, display extreme distress for no apparent reason, speech and language absence or delays, inappropriate laughing and giggling, echolalia, which is repeating of words, abnormal ways of relating to people, objects, and events. They tend to not interact with others, avoid eye contact. They are slower in learning to interpret what others are thinking and feeling. Some remain nonverbal throughout their lives, disruptive and physically aggressive, difficult in sustaining a conversation, and have the inability to understand body language. Physical and behavioral impairments. These are a few examples of the physical or behavioral impairments that students will display. They tend to avoid eye contact, seem deaf, language development issues, no sensitivity to burns or bruises, engage in self-mutilation, abnormal responses to senses, uneven gross or fine motor skills. These students tend to have some seizures. They can have tantrums or aggressive behavior. They are highly attuned or even painfully sensitive to certain sounds, textures, tastes, and smells. They have difficulty regulating their emotions and disruptive and physically aggressive. Academic impairments. These are some of the academic things you may notice about your students with autism. They can be paired with mental retardation. They tend to have lower IQs, tend to have language issues, unable to communicate understandings. Communication and language issues may not allow students to acquire new information. They are easily distracted in their environment and have sensory issues, which means they cannot learn through their senses. Teaching strategies. Create an environment that is not overstimulating. The child will do better if there are no loud noises in the background, as it distracts an autistic child from concentrating. Create a structured environment with predictable routines. This is where the picture schedule so often used in autistic classroom comes into play. The daily routine should be the same from day to day, only differing from special occasions. Give fewer choices. If a child is asked to pick a color, say red, only give him 2 or 3 choices to pick from. The more choices, the more confused an autistic child will become. Select repetitive motions when working on projects. Most autistic classrooms have an area for work tasks such as putting erasers or pencils or sorting colors into colored cups. Make sure you keep a low voice and clear when teaching. Autistic children become agitated and confused if speaking voice is too loud. Excess talking between staff members should be kept to a minimum. Limit physical contact. While this is a good strategy for all children, autistic children cannot properly interpret body language and touch. Allow students to stand instead of sit around a table for a class demonstration for morning or evening meetings. Many children do better when allowed to stand. Many rock back and forth, and this allows them to repeat those movements while still listening to teacher instruction. Encourage and promote one-to-one interactions with students to promote social skills. Since autistic children have a problem with social skills and appropriate social behavior, this is very important. Opportunities for social interaction might have to be structured at first, but with practice they will start to understand social interactions. Eliminate the stress. Again, the autistic child needs to learn in a calm and quiet classroom. For visual learners, be sure to use signs and pictures such as pictures from Board Maker program. This is the beginning of communication skills for these children. These are good strategies for the classroom, but there are other strategies that can be used with instruction of autistic individuals, but these strategies are the most common. Environmental settings and materials or resources. Make sure to free up any distractions such as noise or objects in the classroom and other settings. Make sure to keep everything organized. Create a less stimulating environment. Use consistency across different settings, meaning such as the gym or lunchroom, and the use of technology such as PECs, which is that bottom left picture. Visual supports, as you can see in the middle picture in the front of the classroom, and you can also see that classroom is very organized. And the bottom right picture shows a picture of organized toys with pictures matched up to it. Educational approaches. Make sure that you use explicit instruction and concrete examples. Create plans for generalization. Create predictable routines and schedules. Create behavioral approaches to address problem behaviors. Carefully explain expectations. Foster positive learning experiences. provide structure, arrange tasks that a person can perform, has a successful use of time or transitions, and break up tasks into smaller parts. Behavioral approaches. Remember to tell the individual and behaviors proper. Clearly identify the inappropriate behaviors. Carefully analyze the behavior. Use behavior charts or reward systems. Determine the positive replacement behaviors to teach. And teach the student common techniques. Communication or social skills. Avoid the use of slang, nonverbal cues, and use more direct statements. Provide feedback about appropriate responses. Enhance verbal communications with illustrations. Have the use of pictures to communicate. This would help students who are nonverbal. Provide time for social interaction. Use peer supports. Teaching initiation of communication. Taking turns in communication, and requesting. Services and supports. These are a few of the services and supports that can help students with autism. Applied behavior analysis, or ABA. Behavior analysis is a scientific approach to understanding behavior and how it is affected by the environment. Applied behavior analysis addresses socially important problems and helps to bring about meaningful behavior change. Teach or training and education of autistic and related communication handicapped children uses an intervention approach called structured teaching. Structured teaching is designed to capitalize on the relative strength and preference of processing information visually while taking into account the recognized difficulties. The Youth Autistic Program, or YAP. The goal of the Youth Autistic Program is to teach students one skill at a time, all the skills that are needed to allow them to participate independently in all facets of daily living. PRT. This is used to teach language, decrease disruptive self-stimulatory behaviors, and increase social, communication, and academic skills by focusing on critical or pivotal behaviors that affect a wide range of behaviors. Some of these students receive OT and PT to help them. RDI. RDI is a system of behavior modification through positive reinforcement. The goal of RDI is to improve the individual's long-term quality of life by helping them improve their social skills, adaptability, and self-awareness. CERTS. The CERTS model differs most notably from the focus of traditional ABA by promoting child-initiated communication in everyday activities. CERTS is most concerned with helping children with autism to achieve authentic progress, which is defined as the ability to learn and spontaneously apply functional and relevant skills in a variety of settings and with a variety of partners. Now we conclude on autism. Autism is a spectrum disorder which has no clear-cut cause. Impairments completely vary from one individual to the next. There are many tactics, supports, and services that were shown in this slideshow that can help to benefit these students. All these techniques can help these students to become fully independent citizens and further their education through other education opportunities, and hopefully they can receive jobs in their future. These are the references that I used on autism, and I thank you for watching this slideshow.